Hello and welcome to Kokosing. We're glad you're here today preparing to join the Kokosing team. We look forward to working with you as we continue to build the Kokosing story and yours. But first, let's take a moment to get to know each other a little better. Everyone has a story, and we'd like to hear yours. My name's Safety Joe, and I've been part of Kokosing's story, one which started in 1951 since the beginning. During our time together today, we'll complete the necessary steps to bring you on board. This will include a drug and alcohol screen, as well as the completion of new hire paperwork. You'll be welcomed to the company by Brett and Bryce Burgett, co-CEOs and grandsons of Bill Burgett, the founder of Kokosing. From there, we'll review several scenarios to increase your awareness of our culture of safety. Lastly, you'll be provided advice from several team members that will help you begin your career with the Kokosing team. We're going to take the next few minutes to complete your new hire information workbook, which includes the information needed for payroll, your tax forms, and our company policies. First, please get out your 2 forms of ID, direct deposit information, and any training cards or certifications that you brought with you. We'll collect your IDs and training information during orientation to make a copy of them and return them to you. In front of you should be your company hard hat, employment guide, and new hire information workbook. We're going to start by opening the company policy book to the inside cover. You'll notice a Stop Work Authority card on the left side of the page with your company's logo on it. As a team member, you have the right and responsibility to stop an operation if you feel it's unsafe and to seek your supervisor's assistance to get it corrected. On the back side of this card, you'll find our safety commitment to you and the personal cell phone number for the president of the company you're going to be working for. If you're ever in a situation when you're trying to stop an unsafe operation and that individual is not complying and your supervisor is not responding to resolve the situation, you can contact your company's president directly. At the bottom of this page, you'll see your medical emergency card. You'll need to take out the card and fill out both sides and include your emergency contacts. This medical emergency card is to be placed inside your hard hat at all times. Please do so now. This card's important because you'll always be wearing your hard hat while working. If something happens, our team knows to go to your hard hat to find this information regarding your allergies, medical conditions, and who to contact in case of emergency. The last thing to go over on this page is the backpack image on the top right of the page and the row of stickers attached to the bottom. Your backpack is where we store all of the training you've completed that's relevant to your position. If you have training cards or certifications with you today, we'll get those added when setting you up. If you have training and did not bring it with you, please feel free to have your supervisor send those into the Human Resources Department to be added. There are 4 stickers at the bottom of this page with a QR code on them. The QR code is how we can see what training someone has completed. There are many things at your work locations that you need to be trained to do before you can do them. Please take one of the 4 stickers and place it on the inside of your hard hat, as shown in the image on the screen. Now, take another one of the stickers and put it in the empty square in the top right-hand corner of page 1 of the new hire information workbook. You'll have 2 stickers left in case something happens to the one on your hard hat and you need to replace it. On pages 2 and 3 of the employment guide is the table of contents. You'll notice that Section 1 is your employment guide, Section 2 is the substance abuse prevention policy, Section 3 is the EEO prevention of sexual and non-sexual harassment policy, and Section 4 includes reference materials. This book is yours to keep and reference as needed. Now it's time to complete the new hire information workbook. Each page has highlighted sections to easily identify which ones you need to complete. Any sections not highlighted in yellow you should not complete. Please take your time as you complete these pages so that your handwriting is legible. You may begin by completing the highlighted sections on page 1 in front of you. For your emergency contacts, please be sure to list at least 2. If you need to look up their phone numbers in your cell phone, you may do so as well. Next is page 2, which is on the back of page 1. Today you'll be required to complete your pre-employment drug and alcohol screen, if you haven't already. Complete the highlighted section at the top and leave the rest blank. Once complete, tear off this sheet and set it to the side. You'll take this with you when it's time to complete your drug and alcohol screen. Page 3 is the W-4 Federal Tax Withholding page. Complete all highlighted sections on this page. If you need to refer to the additional pages for calculations, they can be found in the back of the employment guide in the reference section. If you need to update this at any time, you can do so by contacting your HR representative and requesting a new W-4 form. On the back of page 3, page 4 is the state tax form for the state you're going to be working in. If you think you need to complete a state tax form other than the one in your workbook, please let us know and we'll provide you with the appropriate form. Complete all highlighted sections on this page, including the number of exemptions you claim, if applicable. Page 5 is where you'll enter your bank account information for direct deposit. Only the primary account section is highlighted, but if you wish to have part of your check go into one account and part of your check go into another, you'll need to list each account and the amount or percentage for each. You will also need to complete the sections highlighted at the bottom. Please note, if you will have a company email address, you'll need to list that as your email address on this form. The email address you list is where your pay stubs will be sent prior to your deposit. All hourly team members are paid on a weekly basis. All salary team members are paid on a bi-weekly basis unless otherwise listed on the proposal. We are 1 week behind for processing, and if you have questions on when your first paycheck will be, please refer to your employment proposal or your HR representative. If you brought a voided check with you, we'll collect it when we collect your workbook. Page 6 is the Employment Eligibility Verification Form, or the I-9. This is why we asked you to bring 2 forms of ID with you today and what tells us that you're eligible to work in the United States. Complete all highlighted sections in Section 1, and if there are any boxes you don't have information to enter, you'll need to write NA in those boxes. There should not be any blank boxes in Section 1. Your address in Section 1 needs to be a physical street address. You cannot use a P.O. box on this form. Your birth date in Section 1 needs to be written as 2 digits, 2 digits, 4 digits. Next, you'll complete the highlighted section that reads, "I attest under penalty of perjury that I am," by marking one of those 4 boxes that applies to your citizenship status. Last, you'll need to sign and date. When writing today's date, you'll use the same format: 2 digits, 2 digits, 4 digits, then mark one of the boxes in the preparer and/or translator section. You can skip page 7 as there are not any sections highlighted for you to complete. Page 8 is the VEVRA form. You'll need to complete all 3 sections of this form as it applies to your veteran status. Page 9 is the Voluntary Self-Identification of Disability form. Complete all highlighted sections on this form. There's a list of examples of disabilities on this form. If you have one of these, please do not circle it. Page 10 is the Acknowledgement of Receipt form for the company policies included in your employment guide. You'll need to complete the highlighted section at the bottom. By signing, you're stating that you've received each of the policies and understand that you're expected to read them. When reading the policies, you'll understand our work guidelines, policy on attendance, when we drug screen team members, and our policy for preventing sexual and non-sexual harassment. Thank you for your attention and cooperation completing your drug and alcohol screening and new hire onboarding paperwork. We're now ready to continue your onboarding process, and we'll check in with Brett and Bryce Burgett, our co-CEOs.
Welcome to Cocosing. I'm Brett Burgett.
And I'm Bryce Burgett. And together we are co-CEOs of Cocosing, and we are honored to lead this incredible group of companies. Back in 1951, our grandfather, Bill Burgett, was out of work and had a family to support. So he went to work doing what he most enjoyed, building.
He knew he would need help to build a successful company. So he began looking for passionate individuals that shared his vision and who wanted to provide for their families while putting their best efforts forward in the projects they built. At Kokosing, the focus has and always will be on our team members that help build this great company.
As a third-generation family-owned business, we are proud to lead so many dedicated team members across all of our companies who have chosen to build a career here and make their contribution to this amazing story. We know this story is only as successful as those team members who have participated in it. That is why your willingness to join us today is important. The focus you bring while you are here at Kokosing is important to everyone, including your family, your coworkers, and most importantly, yourself.
As the company continues to develop and grow, we strive to obtain new goals that provide opportunities for our team members to flourish. The core values that guide us on our journey are the same core values that our grandfather had when he started the company. By demonstrating a genuine concern for the well-being of every team member and a good member of the communities where we live and work by operating with honesty and integrity, you will be doing your part to lay the foundation for our continued success. Doing so allows us to grow and be focused on the customers we serve to continuously improve and take on new challenges, keeping the company financially strong and capable.
You're right, Brett, and none of this happens without our commitment to zero at-risk behaviors, which is reflected in our first core value, safety first. This culture, which began many years ago and carries through today, is made possible by each team member embracing a willingness to engage and contribute by personally committing to work injury and incident-free every day.
Your personal commitment, which now becomes part of Kokosing's story, starts today.
Thank you, Brett and Bryce. We all appreciate your time and the clarity of the vision that you provided. Like they say, people will work to the level of safety that's expected of them, and at Kokosing, we expect every team member to approach their tasks at home and at work in a manner that does not place themselves or another person in harm's way. To this end, the Stop Work Authority card you're being provided today has the cell phone number of your company president on it. Every team member has the right and is responsible for stopping any operation if they feel it's unsafe and immediately seeking the assistance of their supervisor to get it corrected. The remainder of this onboarding program will provide you with examples as to how you can be a leader of our culture of safety. Now let's get started by joining our KCC Support Operations Group at their daily MAP meeting and learn what it means to be mapped out.
All right, guys, any questions? Remember, guys, it's our job to get mapped out before we start work.
That's right. We need to be motivated. I'm motivated to work safe because my family's counting on me to come home.
I work safe because I enjoy my time outside of work on the farm.
And I work safe because I love my job and my team members are counting on me.
What motivates you to work safely?
Remember, you are accountable for your safety attitude, behavior, and beliefs.
First, we must be accountable for ourselves. Our safety is the most important thing before we can hold others accountable.
Second, we need to be accountable to each other. So if you see something, say something. Never let an unsafe act or condition go unchallenged.
We must practice perfectly to improve our good, safe work habits.
Do you know the safe work procedure for the task you're about to perform?
Are you trained or authorized to perform the task?
You have the proper tooling and materials to perform your task safely, injury and incident free.
Last, we must exercise discipline and own our own 20 square feet by remembering these three things. What I'm about to do, what are the hazards, and what can I do to work injury and incident free? Remember, when things change, and they will change either at work or at home, we must press pause and get mapped out.
Thanks to the KCC Support Operations team for explaining the importance of being mapped out. Now let's check in on our Olin mining operations and see what they have going on.
Hey Mike, hold up a second. Josh just pulled up behind you in your blind spot. Hey Josh, how's it going?
Good, how you doing, son?
Good. Hey, do you know you pulled up into the blind spot behind the loader here?
No, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry.
That's alright, man. We need to start using the designated parking area.
I'll do that next time. Thank you.
Hey Josh, come check this out. Hop up in there and see what I see. Check out the blind spots to the back and to the right.
Wow. I'm sorry about that, Mike. I see what you're dealing with up here. You can't see anything.
You're fine. Just remember that even though I have a backup camera, I still have blind spots. If you're coming into my area, at least acknowledge by hand signal or holler at me on the radio, just let me know you're there. And then that way I know what's going on so I don't have to worry about you.
All right. Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate that. I'll make sure to do that from now on.
No problem, man. Looks like you better head back to your truck and get to the designated parking area. We got a new guy coming in, getting ready to back in. We're going to have to spot him.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
At Kokosing, we require all team members to participate in our 360 walk-around program. The program has 5 simple actions you can take to eliminate at-risk behaviors, injuries, and damages associated with vehicle or equipment backing incidents. First, always park in the designated parking area and either pull through or back into your park position so that you can make your first move forward when you're ready to leave. If you need assistance backing in, don't hesitate to ask for and use a spotter. Prior to leaving, make sure that you complete a 360 walk-around to visually check your blind spots and your path of travel to identify obstructions that might be in your way. Lastly, press pause and get your mind and eyes focused on the task at hand, driving. When you're spotting for a vehicle or a piece of equipment, always stand off to the side of the path of travel where you can see the potential hazards and the driver or operator can see you. Then provide common hand signals to the driver or operator to help prevent an incident. Note that in some cases, using a radio will help improve the clarity of communication between you and the driver or operator. As a driver or operator, don't be afraid to ask for a spotter, and always stop if you're uncertain as to the directions you're being provided or if you lose sight or communication with the spotter.
Hey Shane. Hey Jeff. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to speak with Josh and share some wisdom about blind spots.
No problem.
Hey, have a good day.
You too now.
Hey Josh.
Hey, Derek. Hey, I'm really sorry about earlier when I parked behind the loader. I didn't realize they had zero visibility of where I was at.
It happens. Those guys have your back. They recognize the situation and got things stopped. I know you're eager, but don't forget to be motivated and accountable to your family. They're counting on you to come home in one piece.
Yeah, they are. Thanks, Jared. I really appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You too. Thanks again.
On most of our projects, you'll be working around mobile and heavy equipment and will need to respect the line of fire struck by hazards you'll be facing. Remember to always have your mind and eyes on the tasks you're performing, as well as the mobile and heavy equipment you're working around. Now, let's take a moment and check in on one of our underground utility crews to learn about trench and excavation safety and utility strike prevention.
Hey, your 811 ticket is good for another week. We did get a positive response from the cable company that there are no buried lines in our work area. I white lined the work area a while back and the marks were still visible.
Here's my utility strike prevention guide. Can we take a minute to review it?
You see you should have water, electric, and sewer in the front of each building. The water line was put in a few years back and it varies in depth. If you were to hit it, there's a shut-off valve near the intersection and the city left us a valve key as well. Here you got their contact information. You've been through the Trench Competent Person training, correct?
Yep, went through it last winter. Here's my sticker.
Got it.
Our operator went through it last year with us also. When I leave to go get gaskets, I'm going to designate him the competent person. We've got to practice perfectly in this area between the overheads and undergrounds, the trench and traffic and public. There is a lot of exposure in this area. Before you get in the box today, we need to do a manual and a visual test of the soils. That classification tells us the trench box we have to use. Here we are 7 foot deep. and got a classification of sea soil, so the box should be good today.
Okay. What other safety requirements do we have working around these trenches?
See how the operator keeps the spoils back.
Yeah, he doesn't want me to stack my tools or pipe there either. Putting more weight on the edge of the excavation.
Exactly, they need to be at least 2 foot back. How are you going to access the box?
We're going to use that ladder.
Good, very important for premium access in and out of the box.
So who's going to be my spotter today while I dig inside this box?
That would be me. We got overhead lines that we need to stay at least 10 feet away from, and water, sewer, and electric in the ground.
The water and sewer was just recently put in, so it should be backfilled in sand. The electric line was bored in, and it'll vary in depth. We need to make sure that we're hand shoveling around it.
Yeah, I'll hand dig the width of the company impact zone and 6 inches deep, and we'll let the excavator pull some material back in.
The hand digging is really important. Don't use the hoe to find it. Make sure we're using our shovels. The next area we move to, we'll get a hydrovac.
Okay.
Hey, nice work today, bud. Way to get that hole taped off. There's a lot of people up in that area. We don't want anybody falling in.
Yeah, Chris and I were looking ahead at some of next week's work and noticed some of the markings were gone. We know the building has water, electric, and sewer, but it's missing the electric mark. You can see the meter box, but there's no paint or flags.
Really? Great catch. I'll call the engineer. He can get a hold of 811, get them back out here in the morning so we can get them remarked. Thanks, bud. Have a good night.
You too.
That was an excellent example of the importance of practicing perfectly to prevent a cave-in or utility strike incident by our underground pipe team. Truth be told, there will be many situations that will require you to practice perfectly in order to work injury and incident-free. Let's see how our Kokosing Materials Inc. team is handling a situation that involves confined space entry and energy isolation, lockout, tagout, tryout.
All right, guys. Today we're going to be doing a confined space entry into tank 103. Make sure we got the confined space book and the lockout tagout book. We're going to be going in, jackhammering out some stuff that's inside the tank and doing an inspection. Brian, Trey, Justin, you guys are going to be going in. Make sure that you guys have your harnesses, jackhammers, shovels, flashlights, air compressor, get all that stuff over there. Some hazards in that tank. Confined space. If somebody gets hurt, nobody goes in after them. It's a self-rescue and a 911 rescue only. In case you guys have a tool failure, make sure you guys communicate that, get out. Make sure you guys have your monitors on, make sure they're facing out. That way, in case the atmosphere in there gets bad, once you get farther in towards the tank.
Here you go, bud. You can go ahead and put that back on the charger.
Man, I'm glad we got that done.
Me too. I've been here a few years now, and that's never fun.
Now I get to go to my boys' game tonight.
Oh, I can't wait till mine's a little bit older and I can go see his games. Oh man, you're not gonna believe this. I forgot my shovel inside.
You also just sent Justin to put the monitor away.
Man, I tell you what, I'm still suited up. I'm just gonna go jump back in there real quick and grab it. It'll only take me a second.
I don't think that's a very good idea, Trey.
We've been in there all day, the alarm never went off.
Hey, it only takes a couple extra minutes to do the right thing. That'd be a violation of the safety rules.
You know what, Brian? You're right. Hey, Justin, I need you to go grab the monitor. I left my shovel inside and I gotta go back in and get it.
All right. Thanks, Trey.
Thank you. That was the right thing to do.
That was a great example of how you can exercise discipline by using your stop work authority to help another team member find their motivation to press pause and get mapped out. Always remember that exercising discipline starts with self first and then others second. Reason being that there will come a time at work or at home where you will be the only person there to hold yourself accountable for being mapped out. So, it has to be self first and then others second. Now let's see how a new Kokosing industrial team member presses pause to hold himself accountable and then works with his supervisor to get mapped out.
All right, guys, you guys got anything else you need? Well, I'm gonna take Nick here to go through the demo work that needs done. Welcome to the job, Nick. Did Mike put you through site-specific orientation this morning?
Yeah, he did. It looks like a pretty cool job.
All right, man, well, follow me. Well, today I'm going to need you to chip up the slab and drill some holes for some rebar dowels. You'll need to go grab a 70 vacuum attachments from my gang box. There's a wheelbarrow over there you can load up the broken concrete in and bring it to the overhead garage door so we can grab it with the skid steer.
I have no idea how this stuff goes together. Should I just go ahead and hammer without the vacuum? I'm sure it won't be that dusty. I don't want to look dumb on my first day here. But I know anywhere else I've been, they've been serious about speaking up. I better press pause, exercise discipline, and get some help. Hey boss, you got a minute?
Sure, what's up? Did you find all the tools and stuff?
Yeah, I got it all out. I'm not familiar with the TE70 and the hammer attachments for the vac.
Okay, have you been trained up on it yet? Let me check your QR reading, see if you've had it.
Today, you were provided a QR code sticker for your hard hat. We call this your backpack, and when you or your supervisor scans it with a smartphone or tablet camera, a link will open up and you'll be able to see a list of your current trainings and authorizations.
You know what, man, that was my bad. I should have checked that earlier. I assumed that you've already had it. Thanks for speaking up, though. That takes discipline to be mapped out.
Yeah, thanks for understanding.
Well, let me show you how this thing works. First off, take this off. The biggest hazard you're going to have with this tool is drill twists. So you always want to make sure you use the secondary handle. That's key. Once you get that tightened up, you always want to make sure you're in a good body positioning so it don't twist or kick on you. Let the drill do its work, but always you need to pay attention. You know why we use the shop vac attachments for chipping and drilling?
Yeah, to contain the silica dust.
Crystalline silica is a common mineral found in the Earth's crust and in the aggregate materials that we produce. You know, the sand, stone, and the gravel that are used as either raw materials or to produce asphalt, concrete, mortar, grout, bricks, block, and many other finished materials that we use in the construction industry. Crystalline silica alone is not a significant health hazard until it's transformed into respirable crystalline silica by cutting, breaking, crushing, drilling, grinding, sawing, blasting, demolishing structures, or excavating and placing earthen materials that contain crystalline silica. When these activities are performed, crystalline silica is fractured into tiny respirable particles that are 100 times smaller than ordinary grains of sand that you might find at the beach. These particles are then inhaled deep into your lungs and increase your risk of developing silicosis, lung cancer, COPD, and kidney disease. To protect team members from the health hazards associated with respirable crystalline silica, the company has developed several work instructions that meet or exceed regulatory agency requirements and clearly define the company's engineering, work practice, and respiratory protection controls to be followed. It's important for you to know that we have several tasks and operations that generate respirable crystalline silica and more than 20 work instructions that you're required to complete prior to using any of the following tools or equipment: handheld power saws, walk-behind saws, handheld and stand-mounted drills, including impact and rotary hammers, jackhammers and handheld powered chipping tools, handheld grinders, walk-behind and drivable milling machines, operation of mobile and heavy equipment, and utility vehicles used to abrade or fracture silica-containing materials, for example, hoe ramming, rock ripping, or to those that are used to excavate and grade earthen materials. Some things that we can all do to protect ourselves from the health hazards of respirable crystalline silica include wet sweeping, spraying or vacuuming of silica-containing debris versus dry sweeping or blowing. When using a vacuum, ensure that it's a self-cleaning HEPA filter silica vac and that it has been properly outfitted with the required debris bags to contain the silica dust particles. While we are required to always use engineering controls like water and vacuums, there are certain activities and operations that require our team members to wear respiratory protection. Prior to wearing a respirator, you'll need to be trained and authorized by a company safety representative. This process includes the completion of a medical evaluation questionnaire, doctor approval, a respirator fit test, and training on the proper use, care, and maintenance of the respirator you're issued. If you are required to wear a respirator for more than 30 days in a 12-month period for protection from respirable crystalline silica, you will also be enrolled into the company's Silica Medical Surveillance Program. Note that team members are not allowed to wear a respirator, including an N95 filtering facepiece, also known as a dust mask for protection without company authorization. For tasks that require the use of a respirator, team members working in the general area will also need to maintain a boundary of 20 feet from the work activity. With a combination of the company's engineering, work practice, and respiratory protection controls, you'll be able to protect yourself from the hazards of respirable crystalline silica if you practice perfectly each and every day. Again, remember that if a tool or other engineering controls is not working properly, stop work and get your supervisor involved to resolve the issue. In our culture of safety, we permit and promote the belief that none of us is as smart as all of us. We understand that nobody knows everything and that it's more important that we exercise discipline and press pause to help, like Nick did whenever we're uncertain. Once we do so, with the help of our teammates, we can get mapped out and find a way to complete our tasks with zero at-risk behaviors. Now let's see how our KCC wall crew is getting mapped out to manage some materials handling challenges.
Remember, we are working close to the power lines today. So, Scotty, you are our QRS. You will need to signal Matt and the crane. Also, be sure to inspect all the rigging prior to use. Artie, you are our BRS, so you can help Scotty with the inspection of the rigging. Okay. Also, be sure to use the proper lifting points on the generator when we fly it down there. Also use a tag line with that. We also need to be sure to stay at a minimum of 10 foot away from the power lines with the crane boom and the load line. Matt, remember, we need to set your swing protection back up for the day to keep everybody out of the pinch point between the counterweight and the bank.
Thank you, Scott, and make sure that you guys stay outside of the swing radius until you get the operator's approval.
Artie, you have anything for us?
Yeah. When we get the generator down the footer, we're gonna wheel it around using the handles. And the generator got a rate tag on it, so we're gonna get the crane, fly it down with the crane. And also we got the pump, has a yellow tag on it. These 2 people lift, but we're gonna use the crane since we got it here.
We start every day by warming up. These simple stretching exercises increase flexibility, blood flow, and help us avoid injuries. Using equipment should always be your first choice when lifting materials. Note that several pieces of our mid-sized equipment are equipped with a yellow or red tag. A yellow tag means that the item needs to be lifted with equipment, a lifting aid, or a 2-person lift. A red tag means that we need to use equipment to lift the item. For items that are not tagged, you'll need to size up the load and plan your lift. But before you pick up and carry any load, make sure you know where you're going and have a clear path of travel to get there. Do your part to pick up trash, debris, and eliminate underfoot walking working surface hazards by keeping the job site clean. When lifting items, always use the proper form. Keep your back straight and butt out. Stand close to the load. Be sure that you have a good grip. Tuck your chin to your chest and keep your arms straight and abdominal muscles tight. Then, lift the load smoothly and without jerking. Try to keep the load as close to and centered on your body as possible and avoid twisting and side bending, as this can lead to injury. When lifting an item with another team member, talk with each other beforehand to ensure that you both know when and how you're going to pick, carry, and set the load down. Will one of you set down first, or will you both set the load down at the same time? And if you need more than 2 people to lift a load, stop. Eliminate that at-risk behavior by using a piece of equipment. When lifting items or working around material handling operations, it's also important that you avoid placing your hands, fingers, arms, or other body parts into a position where they could be struck by the load or caught between the load and another object. It's your responsibility to look for and keep yourself out of the line of fire. We've seen some excellent examples of being mapped out at work. However, did you know that you and I are twice as likely to be hurt away from work, and that it's 10 times more likely that an away-from-work injury will be serious, disabling, or even fatal? For this reason, we encourage you to make safety 24/7 part of your personal lifestyle and always take the time to get mapped out, even when you're not at work. Now let's check in with one of our Corman Kokosing finishing crews getting ready for a concrete pour and see why it's important to practice perfectly when working with hazardous chemicals and substances.
All right, does everyone have their gloves and their boots for tomorrow's pour? We've got a few hundred yards and I want to make sure we all have the correct PPE.
Do we really have to wear these blue gloves?
Have you ever had a concrete burn before? Let me tell you about the time I got a concrete burn. I got concrete in my boots during a pour one time and it was the worst feeling ever. Could hardly walk. The concrete rubbed the skin on my heels raw and I had some pretty painful blisters.
It's the Portland cement in the concrete that does that. If it gets on your skin, it's gonna give you a really bad reaction.
Matter of fact, it's been a little while since we reviewed that SDS, so let's do that. The first section of the SDS sheet tells us what it is, and the second section gives us the hazard identification. You see, each chemical we deal with has an SDS that tells us about it and how we can be safe working with it. Look at the Portland cement one. The first section tells us about the product and what it is. It also gives the emergency contact information of the manufacturer should we have a real issue. The second section gives the hazard identification. See, Portland cement is a hazard to your eyes and skin, which is why we wear the glasses, the gloves, and those boots. If you look at the label in the SDS, you'll see this signal word, typically caution or danger. Danger being the more hazardous. Then these pictograms indicate some other type of hazard. The first being corrosive. It's not quite acidic, but it does have a high pH level that can irritate your eyes and skin. The exclamation point means that it's an acute hazard, which means it'll irritate your skin and eyes pretty quickly.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Those burns can set in pretty quick. I can tell you this much, I won't forget to tape up my boots before the start of a pour again.
The last one shows a carcinogen, which means that this product may cause cancer. Here you see it tells us to wear eye protection, rubber boots, and those nitrile gloves like those blue ones. The third and fourth section talks about the ingredients and other first aid measures.
So what do I do if I get this on my skin?
That's why we have these pour kits. Let's check it out. Inside of these pour kits, we have eye saline solution to wash our eyes out or if it gets on our skin. We have vinegar to neutralize the burn. We have plenty of towels. We have extra pairs of socks. We have extra pairs of gloves. We also have extra pair of safety glasses in here as well. Also, there's a copy of the SDS that comes with these burn kits, just like the one that he's going over right now. If it gets on our skin, we have to wash it off quickly. The longer it sits there, the more likely it will react. If the burn is started, a little vinegar can neutralize it, and then rinse it off. If it's in your eye, we can flush it out for 15 minutes with these eye saline bottles.
Then we have to call it in. The company wants to make sure you're okay, so they're going to give us some advice and continue to check up on you until you're 100%.
So what does the rest of the SDS say?
Well, there's firefighting measures if we were dealing with a flammable material, what you do if we spill some, but most importantly, the precautions for safe use and the exposure controls. Now with wet concrete, we don't really have to worry about breathing it in. But if we're patching holes and mixing buckets, we pour it carefully to avoid a big plume of dust, and we also wear a respirator. It also shows all the other physical properties of the chemicals, anything it might react with, and other toxic and ecological information. There's a lot of information in these documents, and as you know, we don't just deal with this chemical. Think about all the other stuff we have. Curing compound, form oil, WD-40, mixed gas, gasoline, and sometimes we use epoxy.
Don't forget about the bridge sealant. That HMWM is some pretty nasty stuff.
The point is, we have an SDS for every chemical that we use, and we'll review them as we use them. If you ever want to see one, just let me know. I can pull it up really easily on my iPad. Well, all right, can anybody think of anything else we need for tomorrow's pour?
I think we're good.
Well, let's get wrapped up and let's get out of here.
Working with hazardous chemicals and substances can be done with zero at-risk behaviors when we press pause, review the safety data sheet, and take the time to get mapped out. So remember, if you want to review a safety data sheet, all you need to do is ask your supervisor and it will be provided to you. Okay, we have one more project to visit before we wrap things up.
Guys, we're going to take some time and talk about the importance of our harnesses and our fall protection. Falls are the leading cause of death in the construction industry. Each year there are over 300 people that are killed when falling from heights. A third of those are from heights 15 feet and below. Fall hazards exist from decks, slabs, structural steel, formwork, aerial lifts, ladders, and other elevated surfaces. In general, fall protection is required at 6 feet. In some situations, fall protection may be required at a height less than 6 feet to comply with a specific operation, owner, or client, or facility requirement. If you recognize a fall hazard, immediately report it to your supervisor, and a competent person will help you develop and implement a fall protection plan to eliminate and reduce exposure. Hey Wade, are you qualified to rig and signal?
You betcha, yeah, Jason gave it to me last week, see?
Perfect. Can you run up on the deck and get those wooden edge forms slowing down for us?
Yeah, you know it.
Thanks.
Hey Wade, that area's not fully guardrailed. You need to be tied off in that area.
I'm only going to be a minute, I'll be down real quick.
Guys, we're going to take some time and talk about the importance of our harnesses and our fall protection. Falls are the leading cause of death in the construction industry. Each year there are over 300 people that are killed when falling from heights. A third of those are from heights 15 feet and below.
Yeah, but in that minute, or if you fall within that minute, you know your family's expecting you to be home, and you're accountable for them.
You know what, you're right. You've always had my back.
As you can see, our culture of safety starts with you being personally motivated so that you can hold yourself first, then others second, accountable to practice perfectly, and eliminate at-risk behaviors through our shared commitment to exercise discipline and work injury and incident-free. Now, before we head out onto the job site, we need to take a moment and review a few of our general safety requirements that apply to all of our work locations. Out on the site, we have a few basic PPE requirements: a hard hat, safety glasses, gloves, and sturdy leather work boots. Note that some of our companies have more specific PPE requirements that are covered in detail during the next part of the onboarding process, your site-specific orientation. Now that we have our basic PPE on, let's take a walk and I'll show you some other things that you should expect to see out on our job sites. Working injury and incident-free starts with housekeeping. The reason being is that good housekeeping helps to support premium access. Did you know that every day we have roughly 3,000 team members taking 10,000 steps? That's 30 million chances for someone to lose their balance or traction, maybe roll an ankle or sprain a knee. So it's important that we establish clear and level paths of travel, use stairs versus ladders, and have handrails on stairs and ramps, or what we call use premium access. We also need to focus on how we organize and store materials and maintain premium access to them. Properly stacked, supported, and secured materials, along with clean aisleways into and out of our tool trailers and connexes, are required. Oh yeah, one more thing. Always use the premium access that has been provided. Never take a shortcut. To do so is an at-risk behavior. We use ladders and stairs often to provide premium access to elevated work surfaces. Before you climb a ladder, check it out for any defects or damage. Ensure that it has the required capacity and is set up properly. When climbing, always keep your center of gravity, that's your waist and hips, between the ladder rails and use 3 points of contact. When using stairs, make a practice of using the handrail. In the event that you would lose your balance or traction, you should be able to grab the handrail and catch yourself before you fall. It's important that you pay attention to warning signs, signals, and barricades that you may come into contact with around our job sites. They identify hazards and help keep us safe. In time, you'll run into barricades of yellow caution tape warning you of potential hazards. You can proceed with caution and communicate with those working in the area. You may also encounter red danger tape. Never cross red danger tape without talking to the person who installed it and getting their permission to enter the area first. Also, things change based on location and even day to day. So make sure you understand the hazards in your work area, and if you don't, stop and ask your supervisor. After all, that's part of your responsibility for being mapped out. On many of our projects, you could end up working around live traffic. Doing so presents several unique risks and requires us to implement a formal traffic control plan. Team members will be instructed as to the details of this plan as it pertains to where they can safely access the work area, park, and if or when and where crossing a roadway is allowed. Note that crossing an active roadway on foot should always be viewed as a last resort, yet then at times we are required to do so, and in these situations, if the roadway has a posted speed limit of 40 miles per hour or under, team members are allowed to cross at a designated crosswalk location or in the absence of them by implementing the following safe work practices. First, ensure that you have an adequate sight distance in both directions. Note that it will take you 8 seconds to walk across a 2-lane road and that a vehicle traveling at 40 miles per hour will cover 150 yards in that same period of time. So, you need a minimum of 8 seconds of clear travel time in both directions to get across a 2-laned road. Then, looking left and right, always wait for adequate opening before crossing. Never run, always proceed with caution, and keep your eyes focused on your path of travel to avoid losing your balance and traction. Now, if the roadway has a posted speed limit of 45 miles per hour or greater, no team member is allowed to cross it without additional site-specific training. This does not apply to team members that are engaged in the task of placing, removing, or maintaining temporary traffic control devices or performing other duties where the traffic is controlled by a trained traffic flagger, police officer, or established traffic control plan. At work or at home, we all use electricity to power things. The dangers of electrical shock are real, present, and can cause significant injury. So, before you plug in a cord or tool, it's important that you do a thorough check of its condition. Look for any cuts, burns, frays, kinks, or damage to the cord, cracked or damaged housing on the tool, missing guards or secondary handles. And if you find any of these items, do not use the tool. Stop and bring it to your supervisor and they will help you resolve the issue, and if need be, they'll get you a safe cord or tool to use in its place. Remember to always plug into a GFCI, and that prior to doing so, check it out to ensure that it's working properly. We always want to see cords strung up, out of the water or mud, and our walkways. This protects you and others from the risk associated with electrical shock, established premium access, and underfoot conditions, and protects the cords and tools from damage. On many of our projects, you'll be required to plug in to a temporary electrical panel. Before you do so, check it out to ensure that it does not have any missing knockouts or broken covers. If it does, report it to your supervisor. Also, keep at least 3 feet of clearance around the panel at all times. Lastly, only qualified team members are allowed to work on electrical circuits. Never open a panel and expose yourself to energized parts. This is the work of team members that are arc flash trained and approved by the company. Speaking of training, you'll see team members rigging and signaling cranes, operating forklifts, MUPs, other mobile and heavy equipment, driving pickup trucks and other vehicles, towing trailers, and using handheld cutoff saws or using other tools that generate respirable crystalline silica. For you to do so, additional training is required. So, if you happen to see this logo, you'll know that you need additional training. We do a lot of training around here. The reason why? Because we want to make sure that you have the knowledge, skill, and ability to use the tools and equipment to perform the job injury and incident-free. Again, it's all about being mapped out. One last thing. Remember that if you have a work-related injury or illness, or if you're involved in an incident that you need to let your supervisors know immediately, and if it's after hours, please call the After Hours Incident Reporting Hotline 614-2-REPORT. That's 614-273-7678. All right, it looks like we're ready to go. But before we do, let's check in and see what some of your other team members have to say about working at Kokosing.
The best piece of advice that I could give a new hire would definitely be to stick with it. Kokosing's a great company. They got some great people. Everybody gets along. It's just a good company to work for.
New hires like to make a good first impression, but we will be more impressed with the fact that you can work safely, not quickly. Quickly can get you hurt.
So what you could do for each given task is you figure out what you're going to be doing, what are the hazards involved with it, how to eliminate those hazards, and if you cannot eliminate them, stop and go find somebody to help.
A new hire can demonstrate zero at-risk behaviors by having complete and total awareness around them. You got to look out for all your guys, look out for yourself, just be aware of everything.
Look around right now. Do you see anything unsafe? If you do, say it. See something, say something.
As a new hire, you can demonstrate safety by wearing PPE, having good access, never doing anything unsafe, and always listening to your coworkers.
We appreciate your attention during this onboarding program. We hope the information provided puts you in a position to connect with our culture and gives you the desire to build your career at Kokosing.
We look forward to your contributions to the Kokosing story that our grandfather started so long ago. One about people coming together to put quality work in place for the benefit of others, as well as providing a sense of accomplishment to themselves.
Here's to the next chapter of your story.
If you're working for one of our companies that requires additional documentation or training, you'll go over those now. Once your workbook is complete, please be sure to turn it in along with any other documentation requested. Welcome to the team, and we look forward to you getting started.